Well, good morning. Good morning. I see that most of us remembered our sweaters. Good job. Hi, my name is Ruth Robart. I'm happy to be your moderator this morning, and welcome to All Souls Unitarian Universalist Church. We welcome back to the piano Michael. No, it's not Michael. Michalis. He's very sweet. He lets me get by with stuff like that. Do we have any other visitors who'd like to stand and introduce themselves? Or if you brought somebody with you today, to stand up and introduce them, let us know who they are and where they're from. All family today? Well, there is a Sunday Plus lunch after service. So if you are a visitor and didn't want to stand up, that's fine. But come on down to lunch. Let them know that you're visiting and you are our guest. You'll eat for free. And the rest of us, we will be supporting our coming of age kids. So come down and eat and stay for the renovation chat afterwards. You can let us know how happy you are with wearing sweaters and coats to church. Don't forget, we also want to welcome our visitors who are with us online. So hi there and welcome yourselves. And if you watch later on, you get to see a rerun of this online. Exits, if there's an emergency, there's an exit door here and here or out the back. So keep that in mind. And welcome again. And thanks for coming out this morning.
Welcome, dearly beloved. Good morning, church. Welcome to the final Sunday of winter. As the days lengthen and the absence of a furnace becomes a little bit less daunting. Welcome to this hour when we let the stillness and the silence carry us. When we seek the essence of what we are and the power of the Spirit to flower into what we might yet become. This weekend, we congratulate those with connections to the old country of Ireland on their role in sustaining civilization. Let us dedicate ourselves again to the work of sustaining civilization in our own day. Let us renew again this covenant community of memory and promise, where we guard the flame of wisdom, integrity, and servant leadership against the cynical winds of greed, ambition, and corrupt power. Let us celebrate the power of questions and curiosity and the memory of a great scientist as we work to understand the world around us. Let there be compassion in our hearts for all suffering, whether in those close to us or in those far away and unknown to us. May we bring comfort and healing wherever our presence reaches. Let this time of gathering be the opportunity to take account of our days and measure our lives by the values we profess, knowing that we are never alone in the longing to be better people, building a better world together. Let us kindle again the chalice flame that our faith has taken as its symbol, seeking always greater warmth and growing light, summoning all who would live in love, integrity, and service. May it illuminate this hour and shine as a beacon on our journey as we walk together with courage and goodwill and peace. Gotta turn it on.
Hello, my name is Savannah. And I light this chalice for the justice, equity, and compassion in human relations.
Well done. Thank you, Savannah. Now shall we rise in body or spirit as we are able and join together in speaking the words of covenant that bind us into a community. Together we affirm, goodwill is the spirit of this church, and its service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And let's remain risen for our opening hymn. Our commitment to human fellowship means that we are called upon to be glad with those who rejoice and to weep with those who mourn. Therefore, we set aside this time in our gathering to share with one another the joys and concerns that are shaping our lives. May the beauty and sweetness of these brief flowers remind us to hold one another in the bonds of sympathy, encouragement, and care. We will have a time at the end of our sharing for anyone who prefers not to appear on camera as part of our live stream broadcast to come forward. And I begin by placing a flower for my colleague and the congregation in Westchester, New York, where their intern minister died very suddenly this week. So that's got to be a hard thing, and my thoughts are with them. Are there other joys or concerns to be shared? Good, come on up. Yep.
I have a joy this morning, and that is to tell you how proud I am of the American students who have risen up as a group all over the United States to become the new civil rights and other leaders. And I think that these people have shown tremendous courage and forthrightness and direction. And if you want to see an extensive interview with some of these students this evening, they're going to be on 60 Minutes on CBS.
Thanks very much. Yeah. Really quickly, okay.
I have a joy because I've been practicing singing and stuff, and I'm doing a lot better at it. Right, Mom?
Excellent. Thank you for letting us know. I appreciate it. That's great, Margaret. So good to see you.
I'm Margaret Drinkwine, your board president. I need to reintroduce myself because I just came back from 6 weeks being off because I had my knees replaced. My joy is I want to really thank Scott England, our vice president, for stepping forward, and the board, and for keeping the work of the church going while I was not able to be here, and to say how lovely it was to come back and see how much has been done on the renovation. So it's almost two joys.
It's great to have you back, Margaret. Yay.
My friend Larry is in ICU right now. And Larry is a right-wing Republican Trump supporter. I can't say that he's been great on a lot of equality or gay rights or any of the things that I stand for. But I can say that as long as I've known Larry, he's been very good to me, and his mind has been open. And sometimes that crosses the gaps between what you don't know and what you do know, and who you are and who you're not. And I give this to Larry because I hope he comes out.
Oh. Thank you.
I have a friend quietly battling cancer right now.
Good wishes to them. All right, let's make sure we've moved the camera. Is there other joys or concerns? I will place one final flower for all the outreachings of the Spirit that abide unspoken in our hearts, and invite us to join together in the congregational response, which will be on the screen. How does one address a mystery? to the rims of uncertainty. Reverent. Hopefully, out of our need for wholeness in our own lives, the reconciliations of mind and heart, the conjunction of reason and passion, the intersection of the timeless with time. But what shall we say? Anything, any anger, any hope, any fear, any joy, any request, any word that comes from the depth of being itself. Simply be in the presence of mystery, unashamed, unadorned, unafraid. And in this spirit, let us release our children to their classes with song.
Once a month, we do our offering for the general fund of the church. 3 weeks of the month, we share our plate with an organization chosen by usually social responsibility as an organization that promotes our values. This week, as we're getting ready to collect the offering for the general work of the church, I want to express gratitude for our live stream. This allowed me to stay connected during the 6 weeks I could not be here, and it certainly has allowed maybe even some of you to find us online first before you came to visit us in person. We have incredibly creative volunteers and staff. Our board budgets very carefully every year based on our pledged income. And sometimes things come up that we want to expand. Collections like this allow us some flexibility to offer more as more comes up, since our fiscal year starts in July, and we'd hate to have to say, well, we can't do anything new until July every year. So think of that as you're getting ready to make your contribution today. And also, I know you all recently received pledge cards. Think about getting those in too as we begin our budgeting season to look at the budget with the Finance Committee for next year so that we can do as much as we can do for our community. Thank you. The offering will now be given and gratefully received.
Join me now as we dedicate our offering. We dedicate our offerings and our actions to the mission at the heart of our congregation, to build a respectful, caring community, to inspire personal and spiritual growth, and to create a just and compassionate society. Thank you.
This is a reading from Reverence, Renewing a Forgotten Virtue by Paul Woodruff. Reverence must stand in awe of something. Something I will call the object of reverence. What could it be? Something that reminds us of our human limitations, for one thing. Therefore, you must believe that there is at least one something that satisfies at least one of the following conditions. It cannot be controlled by human means, was not created by human beings, is not fully understood by human experts, and is transcendent. Such beliefs are the least you must have in order to be reverent. They do not amount to religion or even spirituality. For the lover of art, that something might be a monument of ancient art, since this has passed out of our power to change without destroying. For a reverent scientist, the something could be the final explanation for the universe, which satisfies the first and third conditions. For a reverent statesperson, the something might be justice, conceived as an ideal, dimly grasped, and much disputed, by which we should try to regulate our poor system of laws. This might satisfy all four conditions. That something could be nature or the universe. For many people, that something will be divine. But if the something is justice or nature, the reverent person may be an atheist, or as some say, a non-theist.
The Summer Day by Mary Oliver. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean, the one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who's gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I have been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?
When is a black hole not black? When it explodes, said Stephen Hawking, who died earlier this week. The inherent finitude of the human body's material existence finally caught up with the greatest scientist of our generation. The strange energy of his dauntless spirit is now free to roam the cosmos that fascinated him at will. Confined by amyotrophic lateral sclerosis to a wheelchair for most of his adult life, Hawking devoted his mathematical brilliance and rigorous curiosity to what he considered the largest and most interesting question of all. Where did the universe come from? It's not that the rest of us don't think about this topic ever, but even the scientifically inclined among us are usually content with approximate answers that we still don't entirely understand. I know I am. Hawking's intellectual precision led him to focus on black holes, those time-space anomalies of gravitation so dense that even light cannot escape from them. Through sheer force of mathematics, performed largely in his head, he demonstrated that a trail of particles continually escapes from black holes, and that the holes themselves eventually explode and disappear. Hawking radiation, as these particles are now known, is one of the most intriguing and generative scientific discoveries of the past half-century. So tell me, what do you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Of course, we can't all be Stephen Hawking. But it strikes me that this unapologetic atheist offers a fine example of what Paul Woodruff is talking about when he speaks of something to stand in awe of. Finding an object of reverence that human beings did not create and do not control or even fully understand. Hawking was increasingly clear throughout his career that he did not subscribe to any traditional concept of God or religion. Yet he often used God as a shorthand metaphor for the sum total of the universal laws that undergird the operation of the cosmos. If we could find the unified theory that he and his fellow physicists are seeking, he famously claimed, we would know the mind of God. But the actual object of his reverence, of his respect and humility, his continuing enchantment, his awe, was the laws themselves. Their structure and operation was something to which he gave his reverent attention, seeking to know and understand. That quest took him into realms of imagination where few could follow, a search for truth that led through the most bizarre and unlikely notions of what goes on in the space all around us. To even begin to understand black holes is to challenge all our common sense Newtonian ideas about the world of our shared experience. It is, I would suggest, an act of faith to accept that such counterintuitive things are real just because the calculations say so. Stephen Hawking had that faith that the universe of space and time is an orderly reality, governed by regularities that the human mind can observe and understand. That the logical progression of a mathematical equation, when it is accurately solved, is to be trusted. And its implications will be true, however improbable they at first appear. Stephen Hawking's life was shaped by that assurance and his commitment to it. What is your life shaped by? This is the question that underlies the meaning of the word worship. From the good old Saxon worthe, from which we get worth and worthy, and skipa, from which we get the verb to shape. People often ask, both from within and from outside this liberal, creedless, Unitarian Universalist tradition, why we would use the word worship to describe anything we do if a significant number of us do not believe, just as Stephen Hawking did not, in any self-aware divine personality called God. The answer is that the word, in its most basic meaning, has no necessary connection to ideas about God. Worship is about shaping or being shaped by what is of worth. It is about the covenants that we undertake with our partners, with our children, with our communities, the ways in which we come to understand the responsibilities around which our lives ought to be structured, whether that is to truth, to our art, to the common good, or indeed to God, if such a concept forms part of your moral or relational universe. Paul Woodruff makes a similar claim about the virtue of reverence in his book about the relatively non-theistic cultures of ancient Greece and Confucian China. Greek society featured many anthropomorphic deity characters with superhuman abilities, but none of them had any discernible moral standards. China, in the 1st century before the Common Era, had the concept of an impersonal heaven that functioned to maintain balance within natural forces of the earth and the moral activities of human beings, but had no personal attributes. Yet both societies deeply valued and cultivated the capacity for reverence. The attitude of reverence might take various things as its object. Part of the skill to be nurtured was the ability to recognize that which was worthy of reverence when it appeared, and then to show that honor in an appropriate way. Mere groveling was never considered proper reverence, says Woodruff. And I would take the same position about worship. True worship, like true reverence, calls upon us to shape our lives in ways that enhance our human dignity and the quality of our living. They may, at times, invite us to confront a reality that makes us sad, like the passage of time, or uncomfortably aware of something we would rather not know about ourselves as individuals, or as a community, or as a species. It is in the nature of a genuine object of reverence that it reminds us of our finitude and asserts the claim of values greater than our own self-interest. Yet something profoundly enlarging happens to us as individuals in that encounter. When our lives are in fact shaped by that which is of more worth than our own impulses or our own comfort, then our lives come to have meaning that transcends mere arbitrary luck, that is satisfying in a way that selfishness can never be. But this is not a one-and-done proposition. The experience of reverence comes and goes. Worship is a practice that gains skill over time, like playing a musical instrument, and loses power if neglected. And we have to choose it for ourselves. Once you are an adult, no one can force you to sit down and practice scales on the piano. Even more so, while someone else can drag you to a church gathering and make you sit through it, no one can force you to actually examine your conscience or take an ideal for your own, or lift your heart and spirit into the holiness of what your life might mean to yourself and others. Only you can be responsible for what you give your worship to and make the object of your reverence. Many folks will try. Many forces will propose themselves as proper objects of reverence, and not just specific religious alternatives either. Capitalism, high fashion, democracy, fast cars, elitism, your college, physical fitness, books, law and order, wealth, your family, or any number of social or political causes will appeal to your ideals and ask for your loyalty and your reverence. Some of those causes and the people who lead them will be dangerous and destructive, but that won't necessarily make them less appealing in the moment. Charisma is a powerful force, and the outcome is not always clear in advance. The only insurance I know of against the appeal of that kind of morally paralyzing, emotionally hypnotizing, privilege-flattering, snake oil sales pitch is to have a prior commitment to values that can help us stand firm against the tides of popular opinion. Demagogues have cajoled their followers throughout history, and the people who oppose them with steadfastness and at great personal cost are always those who have cultivated a reverent loyalty to higher values. Remember, it was not the politically sophisticated German churches that opposed the rise of Hitler and provoked his wrath, but rather the congregations who insisted that it was Jesus and not the Führer to whom they owed their allegiance. So how do you choose? Where do you find the assurance that the object of your reverence is worthy of your worship, that it deserves to shape your life. This, to me, is the great challenge at the heart of Unitarian Universalism. No one is going to answer that question for you. No one is going to take that responsibility from your shoulders. We will never tell you what you must worship or give your loyalty to or hold in reverence. I hope that we will, every Sunday and every day of the week, every time we meet, offer you abundant examples and possibilities. I hope that my words and actions say, this is what it looks like, one way that it looks anyhow, when a life is given to freedom and reason, to the search for truth and human connection, to handing on what is worthwhile from the past to inform the beautiful possibilities of the future. I hope I will always be eager to join you in a conversation about what you want your life to say, either to figure out what that might be or how to do it more effectively. But I hope I will never try to hand you the answer, because that is a useless exercise. I also hope we can caution one another against the idolatries that lead us into cruelty and separation and falsehood and suffering. We can offer warnings, but we can never compel. When we come together for public worship, we offer in community what we have learned and experienced and guessed about how we might best shape our lives around the things that are worthy of our honor and loyalty and trust. I have never believed that I must accept the notion of a conscious personal deity in order to shape my life around worthy ideals. But with or without God, I need that practice and those reminders, the examples that we show each other again and again through the arts and by our sharing and by remembering our history and by the rituals that build reverent connection into our very bodies. When someone asks me what I worship, I think it is perfectly legitimate to say the holy, and to mean by that I seek to mold my life around those ideals and values that are larger than my own finitude and life-giving to others as well as me, the transcendent good that I did not create and do not control, that summons me to justice and compassion and creativity and joy. I would no more want to live without that activity as part of my life than I would wish to give up music or reading or sharing meals with people I love. So let me say again, in case you haven't heard it before or have forgotten, that the important thing about preaching or any other aspect of worship is not what the minister thinks, but that the minister thinks. My task and my goal is never to persuade you to agree with me, but rather to give thought to your own ideas and to measure your understanding against the best heritage of human wisdom that I can find to share with you. I'm not saying I won't strive to be as persuasive as possible. But at the end of the day, I would rather have your thoughtful disagreement than your unconsidered assent. It's not my job to choose how you should live your life, only to suggest some of the landmarks and the possible pitfalls of the human condition that we could all benefit from paying attention to, and to testify ever and again to my experience that the examined and intended life is more beautiful and more satisfying than the unreflective one. Spring is beginning to steal across the prairie, my friends. Crocuses have opened in the sheltered hollows, and the buds of the Lenten rose will unfold in a day or two, perhaps in time for the equinox on Tuesday. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear and the spinning globe and all the stars? Like Mary Oliver, like me, Stephen Hawking may not have known exactly what a prayer is, but he knew how to pay attention, such exquisite attention that the whole cosmos unfolded its secrets on his inner eyelids, stranger than any creation story we have imagined, and more splendid. Throughout human history, people have worshiped the coming of spring, finding in the beauty and the harshness of the seasons, in the earth's pouring forth of new life, an object of reverence, a force worthy of our loyalty and our emulation. We have fallen out of the habit, I know, but what are we going to do with this wild and precious life? Have a little reverence. Pay attention. Sing. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fires of commitment. For all these we carry in our minds and hearts until we are together again. Let us bless the earth and all that is steady and firm and growing. Let us bless the infinite reaches of space and all that is open and filled with light. Let us bless the poet, the scientist, the lover, all whose attention is prayer, is worship. Let us bless this one wild and precious life and all that is holy and curious and summoning to the human spirit. So be it.